basically was talk. Not much else. Not like I had to act or anything. You know, I just thought it was an awesome job, and it was great to be involved with such great guys.
You're so brave, and thank you so much for being so honest and vulnerable. It's amazing to watch. Any questions from the audience?
Chris, who's the toughest guy you fought?
That's basically the old question I get. It's the same question I get all the time. Who's the toughest guy? And I'll just tell you, and I'll be honest about this, that every guy that does that job is tough. I don't put one above the other. I respect them all the same. Where others might not, I do. So there was no one guy tougher than the other as far as I'm concerned.
What was the legal issue you were going to explain to us?
Oh, the legal issue, yeah.
In terms of the blurring of the face, that was done at the request of the NHL. I'm still a little mystified as to why, but and while we're sorting it out with the NHL, we'll keep the face blurred. I mean, it's Dan Cronin is the NHL substance abuse guy. You can look him up on the web, but they felt that somehow his effectiveness might be compromised if we showed his face, even though we asked his permission, we asked the league's permission, but we're sorting it out with the league. So that was one thing, and then I think. I think it's important that the card at the end of the film is a quasi-legal issue that we're also sorting out. I mean, a lot of interesting and very tragic things have happened recently that have been in the news that Tom talked a little bit about. And I think the card suggests to some extent that these issues are issues that are purely in the past and not at all in the present, and I don't think that's the case. So that's just something that we're going to resolve when we finalize the film and we make a few tweaks.
Chris, what do you think of what's happened this summer?
What I think happened this summer is awfully tragic. I think all three cases are different. I believe it's a life issue. I believe that the first gentleman, Mr. Bugard, he tried to do what I did, and that's do it one more time. And it was very unfortunate he didn't survive. He died of a mix of OxyContin and alcohol, which is something I did on a daily basis. I was basically playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets in the gun every day. And I just happened to get lucky, and I kept hitting the empty chamber. Like I said, and I went from pills to heroin, which was not a terribly nice place to be honest with you. I was ashamed of myself. I was ashamed of what I did, how far I guess I'd fallen from where I got in my life. One person, very important person I forgot to mention is my girlfriend Jamie, and I love you, honey. When I was at my absolute worst, Jamie had left me because of my drug use and told me that she didn't want to be with me anymore because she couldn't be with me the way I was, and she ended up going back to Hawaii and leaving me. And after months had gone by, she got in touch with me and told me she was so worried that I was going to die. She knew that one day she would wake up and see me plastered all over the internet or the newspaper that I died of drugs and alcohol. And she asked me to come to Hawaii and see a specialist, which I did. I spent a lot of time with him one-on-one. He was a doctor, ex-Vietnam veteran who was addicted to heroin until he was 50 years old, and he was now about 65. And he worked with me and really helped me get straightened away. I had good one-on-one time with him. I tackled some issues with him that I had to deal with on a personal basis. And he really helped me a lot. But Jamie having taken me back into her life, I spent a month in Hawaii, and I ended up getting sober again. I go to meetings every day. When I was there, I went to sometimes 1, 2, 3 times a day. I went to meetings just so I could stay sober, just so I could not get tempted to go back to get something else to take the pain away. And again, I thank you, honey. I love you so much for taking me back. You saved my life. But anyway, I guess I got off track. But yeah, I believe those 3 gentlemen again. Mr. Bugard died of drugs and alcohol. He went to treatment. Someone worked with him and showed him what he had to do to stay sober. And the night he got out, he went right back to doing the same thing. And it cost him his life. And the other poor fellow, Mr. Rippon, I believe, and from what I've read, has had to deal with depression, not in his NHL days, from his younger days. I think this is something he had, clinical depression, and I think he was dealing that when he came in the league. And then this third fella, I'm still not sure what happened there, Wade Belak. So I believe it's life issues. Honestly, I think they can study this until they're blue in the face. And I don't believe that they'll ever find a connection with those 3 guys and what happened to them and what they did in hockey. I really, I'd be awfully surprised if they can ever put that together. Yeah, so I don't think there's any connection, to be honest with you.
Do you wish the game was different?
Back then or now? I don't know. It's hard for me to say. The game has evolved to the point where, I remember back in the 80s, we were all worried, oh, the Russians are going to come and take our jobs. We don't want them over here. We don't want this. We don't want that. Well, as the league expanded, obviously we needed more players to fill the teams up, players that could play and put a good product on the ice. And they had to go to Europe to do it. And as that league expanded, I believe the league has also changed a bit in the sense that we're starting to transition to a more European style game. I believe we're accommodating them when they come over here to play hockey, and it's more their style now than it was back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the North American style of hockey. It used to be something I think we were proud of as a group over here, and whether it's Canadians, Americans, North American players, and I see that slowly going away. I don't like to see the concussions that I see in today's games, but how come there's so many concussions in today's game? And you very rarely heard of one in the 80s. Well, everybody says bigger, faster, stronger. I think that's bullshit. I think there's more to it than that. From taking the red line out, they wanted a faster game, they wanted a more wide open game, they didn't want the trap. They didn't like defensive hockey, so let's open it up, it'll be more exciting. Well, they got more excited, and here's what it is. The best player in the world, not sure when he's ever going to play again. Mark Savard from the Bruins, who will never play again. I just know when I played, those guys like Guy Lafleur, superstars of the game, did not have to retire because they had concussions. And I truly believe it had something to do with the guys that rode shotgun for them. Like Tony Twist, like myself, like Terry O'Reilly. Guys that the league, for whatever reason, does not want to take credit for. They don't want to recognize these guys. We recognize all the scorers and all these scorers, and that's okay. They deserve it. Great hockey players. A guy like Terry O'Reilly belongs in the Hall of Fame. He was a good hockey player. He was a great fighter. He helped a lot of guys, a lot of teammates. He helped a lot of guys get those points that get them into the Hall of Fame. That deserves something somewhere, other than a pat on the back. And the league doesn't want to recognize that the tough guys were such a big part of it, you know? And they still don't. They cringe when they hear that. They actually cringe when they heard I was doing this film. Maybe because of what I was going to say. Well, all that bad with the National Hockey League. You know, I really think I was fair with them in some of the things I could have said. You know, they wanted, and I'm not taking away from this guy at all, Stu Grimson. Stu Grimson happened to, when he got out of the league, went back to school, got a law degree, and is now an attorney. I heard him speak one night. We all get the stigma of being dummies, fighters. I heard Stu Grimson speak. He'd blow Obama off the stage. And I mean it. The kid was unbelievable. He impressed me so much, and I was proud of him. I was proud to see that guy up there speaking in front of that crowd, taking their attention, getting their attention, and talking and saying something meaningful instead of, oh, well, we worked hard tonight. We beat them, you know, we got to dig deeper. All the cliche shit you hear in hockey. And this guy got out and spoke, he just really impressed me. So.
Chris, it's great that you're here tonight. I feel really lucky that I was here in the room to see the movie with you. Could you say something about your decision to make the movie and whether you needed some time to develop the trust with the film, with the director and the film crew in order to make sure that this is going to turn out in the way that
The question was for you to speak about your decision to do the movie and to develop the trust with the creative team. You feel secure working with them?
Well, it was fairly easy for me. Well, probably, I don't know how many people in here know, but when you do a documentary, a film like this, that they don't pay you. That had absolutely nothing to do with my decision. The money had. So we'll get that out of the way right away. No, I had talked to Larry Weitzman. He got in touch with me, told me they're doing this project, but I'd like to be involved. They're talking to a bunch of NHL guys about fighting. They're doing a documentary on the game. Sure. And then he called me back and we talked a little bit more about my life and asked me some questions on the phone and asked me if I'd be interested in maybe being the central figure in it. And I said, yeah, let me think about it, get back to you. I had just gotten out of treatment. I had a lot of time on my hands. I was trying to get well. You know, I was trying to just put another day between me and that drug, that last drink, and which was very difficult for me. Because, you know, I was so used to being able to have a beer, you know, out with the guys after the game, have a beer, have a beer, have a beer. And some days it would be nice, I could relax and have a beer, but I couldn't anymore. And then I couldn't even take a painkiller for the arthritis in my body that I deal with on a daily basis that, you know, bothers me every day. And anyway, Larry got back to me, we talked, and he asked me if I'd be interested in doing it, and I said sure I would. And we ended up meeting and started shooting. I forget where we shot the first film. You know, we went to Afghanistan, we went to Nunavut when I was up with all the little guys teaching them hockey, and went all over the place. And I just said, you know, why not? I have time. It might be a project that somewhere down the road might benefit someone else. Somebody sees my story and realizes, you know, someone like who was in the position I was in, to fall that far and to be able to get back to their feet and take another shot at life again. It might help someone else. So it was a pretty easy decision. I trusted these guys, that I trusted they'd do a good job. I mean, Alex and in '08 won an Oscar for Taxi to the Dark Side, a film he did in Afghanistan. So it's not like I was working with some chump, you know.
I'd love to know from you, Alex, what drew you to this subject matter? I mean, how did you know that such a great story was waiting here?
Well, when it started, I didn't know about, I mean, we didn't know how good Chris was going to be, and we didn't know Chris was going to be at the center of the film. And I was approached by Barry Reese, you know, to do a film about hockey enforcers. And there was a guy I knew in college who had gone on and played briefly for the Rangers and had made a kind of, you know, a bargain. He wasn't a great player, but he hung around for a little while, you know, by being a player. And so I was interested in the subject. And it's one of those things where a little interest goes a long way. And but you know, we were hunting for a main character, and because doing a kind of a survey film about enforcers wasn't that interesting. And I was also interested, you know, both in terms of, you know, Chris mentions at the beginning of the film, you know, he talks about you know, the fans and the seats and how you know, they like to see guys like Chris go at it because it you know, they're able to satisfy their needs by watching these guys do it, the gladiators. And yet at the same time, you know, the toll it takes on them. So there was a lot about it that intrigued me. And I had played hockey, you know, a little bit, not the kind of hockey that Chris plays, but something resembling the game. So I was interested, and I dug in. And I always think the most interesting path is the path of discovery, to learn. And so on that basis, I dug in.
I think it's really remarkable how deep the exploration and how honest and open you were, Chris, and Alex, I guess your ability to shepherd a crew that can create an environment where your subjects feel comfortable being so open. Can you talk a bit about what it was like to shoot and how those conversations went? And I mean, how do you get people to talk like that, and how do you have the bravery to talk like that?
Well, I should say, I mean, not all the conversations was me and Chris. It was Jim and also Larry. This took place over a long period of time. So, and I think, in a way, that was the great success of the film, was that we had that kind of time. What was it, 2 years? 2 years, and I think it, you know, over that period of time, you get a level of trust, and then also you observe somebody. You know, Chris allowed us into his life, and you observe somebody going through all sorts of changes over that period of time. And I think that's really what it's all about, is being able to, you know, attain that level of trust. And I think, you know, the fact is, I think most of us really want to tell our story. There's, what's the old journalistic adage, you know, it's not so hard getting people to talk, it's getting them to shut up. But I think it's getting people to talk at first. They're establishing that trust. Most of us, if we have that trust, want to talk. And so I think it's all about, you know, our job is to convince Chris that we would honor his story and be respectful.
Let's just hear from Chris about that for our last question.
All right, everybody, get out. Anyway, it was easy for me to trust these guys. It was easy for me to work with them. Jimmy Podhoretz was great with me. Awesome job we did together. He traveled with me quite a bit. Same with Alex and Larry. They were just easy guys to get along with and work with. So thank you again. Appreciate it.